Okay. Can I please ask everyone just to ensure that their microphone is on mute? As I've said, we'll be using the chat function at the bottom of your screens to comment or to ask any questions during the webinar. Okay, so these are all the key functional pieces that I need to say. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Clare English, who is our fabulous host for today, and in fact for all the webinars in this series. For those of you who haven't joined it for one of our webinars before, Clare is an experienced BBC presenter who has undertaken a variety of roles ranging from politics and current affairs to mental health issues, arts, culture and food journalism. Clare has covered Westminster politics, interviewing senior politicians, peers and political commentators, and has reported on a broad range of issues including the sex industry and eating disorders. Clare also worked outside of the BBC in the run-up to Glasgow's Commonwealth Games, when she coached staff at Glasgow Life to produce innovative and eye-catching promotional films for the Games. She is a great supporter of women's enterprise and has hosted the Glasgow City Council International Women's Day event for several years, in addition to being a very highly valued board member at Women's Enterprise Scotland. So Clare, oh, there's my voice going right on cue then. Over to you.
Excitement. Hello, welcome everybody, everywhere. It's fantastic to have you all here up on the screen. I can see all the chats going already. We're into the final furlong. It's quite sad actually. This is the 4th webinar for the Women's Business Centre, and today it's all about selling and creating your earning power. I'm Clare English, as Carrie says, your host and guide. It's great to have you back with us if you're a returnee. If you're a newbie, it's also great to see you. I think there are quite a lot of new faces in there today. I'm just scanning the screen to see. We have a super packed schedule for you today. 4 top of the range panelists we can see dotted about here. Usually we have 3, so we're very lucky today. And this quartet are primed to tell you all about their experiences in business, warts and all. That's really important. They should know. All 4 are highly regarded, but they didn't get to be that way from scratch. They basically had to figure things out, and I'm sure things went a bit askew quite a few times as well. So please don't be intimidated. They will know what they have to tell you. They will know what your fears are as well, I'm pretty sure. These webinars are really practical, they're really down to earth, at very tiny amounts of jargon. If anyone strays into the jargon zone, I will shoot them, okay? We want you to feel at ease. We want you to be able to scribble down some notes and think while you listen to what they're saying. Use that chat facility on the right hand of the screen as well. It's great to see that's buzzing away, as I said, like Billio at the moment. We want you to enjoy this. Think of questions as well for the panelists that you're going to be wanting to ask them maybe a little later on, because we will have the opportunity to do that after we've heard from them. And ask them anything. There is no such thing as the bleeding obvious or a silly question. Just don't be shy. Now, as I say, the chat box is there. We love it because we're learning so much from the digital chat that's going on during these webinars as well. One more thing, social media is our friend. We'd encourage you to hashtag Women's Business Centre to let people know what's happening. So that's all one word, hashtag Women's Business Centre. Let people know we exist and we're here to help and get more women into business. Shall we crack on? I think we should meet the Fab Four who are going to help us to sell well and create earning power. First up, a Women's Enterprise Ambassador, Gillian Crawford, who's also an Institute of Ecommerce founding member. Add to that, she's an award-winning journalist for the Sunday Times, the founder of 2 e-commerce brands, lilyblanche.com, a jewellery business, and tartandtwist.com. Plus, she's chair of the British Association of Women Entrepreneurs in Scotland. That's quite a bundle of experience to draw on, I'm sure you'll agree. What more can I tell you about Gillian? She's currently completing the Growth Advantage programme for entrepreneurs at Strathclyde University Business School. And if she's got any space left in her life for anything else, she has a husband and 3 children, plus an unruly Jack Russell. I feel your pain, Gillian. We have 2 puppies that are Jack Russells as well. Welcome. It's wonderful to have you here today. Next up, guest is Barbara McCrory, with over 30 years in the field of business at director level. She holds a number of roles. A quick canter round those for you: lecturing with Edinburgh Napier University and Teesside University for entrepreneurial leadership, business growth, and professional selling and negotiations. Add to that, associate with Cormac Consulting Group, who facilitate business between international countries, helping companies develop and grow. That sounds very interesting. Barbara's also the founder of her own company, Transform Business Consulting. I could go on about her training role for business development at the Scottish Development International and Ayrshire Council, but I'd probably have to stop because we need to hear what she said directly. But before I go, I should say she's worked with some amazing big brands as well: Mars, Heinz, Heineken, and many more. So it's great to have Barbara with us today. Third panelist is Suzanne Williamson, Development Director at JC Deco, the world's leading outdoor advertising company, which she joined back in 2015. She's a chartered Institute of Marketing member and has more than 20 years experience working in marketing across a number of disciplines, both for B2B, or in non-jargon, business to business markets, and B2C, business to consumer markets. Before she joined JC Deco, Suzanne was a media buyer and planner for RBS Group. So as you can see, she's got a number of angles covered there. We're really happy to have you on board today, Suzanne. And finally, to Jeanette Forbes, who's the CEO of Blue Gentoo, developer of devices and software created to provide integrated hydrate management solutions. Aside from Blue Gentoo, Jeanette has built a portfolio of businesses, including Grape and Grain and PCL Group. She's a qualified systems engineer who established PCL Group in March 2000 after she was made redundant during a downturn in the oil and gas industry. Interesting timing there. So she's been there, she's done it, she's got the t-shirt. And when it comes to facing challenges of setting up her own business in a very male dominated oil and gas sector, and she's been an active member as a business mentor to other businesswomen in the Northeast for a number of years. It's great to see you with us today here too, Jeanette. So we're going to get cracking. First up, we're going to hear from Gillian Crawford, but remember to get your questions forming. As you're listening to what Gillian's saying, you can tap away in that chat box on the right-hand side of your screens. But okay, Gillian, it's time for you to step up to the plate. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay, Claire? And am I loud enough?
You're loud and clear.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for coming and joining this webinar and for inviting me, Carrie, and the WES team. Your time is your most valuable commodity, and you've all given up time to be here today. So it's really important to me that I try and give you some value for your time. Now, I've got about 7 minutes and I see it's 11:11, so I'm going to keep an eye on that digital clock. But I'm going to try and keep this as compact as possible. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our business and how we started. I really want to tell you about the benefits of selling online. And then I want to talk about your business, because really that's what you're all here for. And that's really what excites us all, these new businesses and businesses which are developing all the time. So I've got a couple of e-commerce brands. Ostensibly, you might think they were jewellery businesses, particularly Lily Blanche, which is our main brand. It looks like jewellery, it is jewellery. We have a lot of personalised services, lockets that we fill with 6 photos, 4 photos, we engrave jewellery, and it looks like jewellery, but it's not. It's an e-commerce business, and that might sound a little bit precious, but when you start to think about your business in those terms, you do things differently and you think about things differently. And that was really one of the things that kind of helped to really sort of turbocharge this business, because my eureka moment in e-commerce kind of came when I was standing in a trade show. And I think we've all been there, you know, day 3, nobody passing by, the concrete floor, it's a nightmare. You've got to take the whole show down and put it in a van and drive home, and you're going to go back knackered at the end of it. And these trade shows tend to be less and less efficient the more often you do them, and they're really making money for the trade shows, I think. And I stood there and I thought, oh, you know, this is such an old-fashioned way of doing business. We've been doing business like this since, God, I was in, you know, for probably about 100 years. There must be a better way. And at the time we were selling into a lot of tourist destination shops, National Museums of Scotland, Scottish Parliament, you name it. It was doing well, but we were so dependent on the sort of vagaries of buyers, the buying cycle, you know, when they were, how they did things. You get to know a buyer, the buyer would change. So I went home that night and I sat down and I thought, I am going to do this differently. And at the same time, I had an opportunity to buy out my business partner. And these things were all happening together. And I thought, I'm having a fresh start with this business. And I am going to look at digital selling. I'm going online. I'm going to find the person who can tell me how to do this, because this is the way to go. So I sat up late into the night, night after night after night, and I kept finding myself in American blogs, vlogs. There's a whole coterie of really sort of smart Americans selling online, and they were absolutely evangelical about this stuff. And I kept thinking, I just need to find the Scottish equivalent. They're out there, well, they'll find them. Went to all these seminars, did the business enterprise stuff, and it just, it just wasn't kind of working for me. I mean, we had a website. It had never performed. We'd kind of given up with it because we'd outsourced our SEO. We had made every single mistake in the book. We did things that people recommended and they didn't work. And eventually we just thought, well, this kind of shop window for our business. It's not really going to generate income in the way that the wholesale sales or the business to business sales. But, I realized that by harnessing the power of social media, and we started really using Facebook probably back about 2015, 2016, when Facebook was really quite a good medium for this. And slowly, by putting into practice all that I was learning, our sales started to build. And we're now, and if there's one thing I would say to you, is that you can build a 6-figure e-commerce business really, really easily, as long as you have one thing. And that's a good product. You need a great product to sell. So if you've got a great product, and actually if you haven't got a great product, don't be in business. The world doesn't need any more crap. Have a brilliant, brilliant product and use online to sell it. And that is absolutely the way to go. And you can do this. You can do it from home. You can do it flexible working. You can do it with the kids around your ankle. You don't even need a website to do this. You can do it on Amazon. You can do it on eBay, and you can turbocharge your sales. So why is now good? People often think e-commerce tech, it's difficult, it's hard, it's, and there's an aspect of it. You do have to understand some of this stuff. You don't have to understand all of it. You have to understand enough of it to be able to outsource the right things. But actually, this is a great time to get into e-commerce. E-commerce is a massive growth market. So in 2018, e-commerce, it's just the selling of goods and services online. That's what we mean when we talk about e-commerce. It's just automating the selling process to free up your time to make it really productive. And in the UK in 2018, Britain was the 3rd largest market in the world for e-commerce. Listen, we're really good at this stuff in the UK. We're really good at buying things online. We're big, after China and after America, we were 3rd, and we're bigger than France and Germany combined. So according to the ONS statistics, our sales in the UK are worth 688 billion, and they grew 18% in 2018. Now that is going to look like chicken feed next year after COVID. Now COVID has been disastrous for so many businesses. It's terrible for all of us. It's a horrible, horrible thing, but it has changed our shopping habits, and it has accelerated the way we shop online by 5 years. And so companies, not everyone's a winner, but companies who are working out how to message to their customers, how to give their customers added value, how to be experiential online, are doing really well. So this is a great time to get into e-commerce. And e-commerce is a very practical way of doing business for women, because you don't need a lot of capital. It's a cash-rich kind of business. You have a platform or a website, eBay, Amazon, however you're going to do it. That cash comes straight into your bank account. You're not chasing numbers. You're not losing margin to other, to a middleman. And you can talk directly to your customers. And there are so many brilliant ways now through social media, through digital marketing, of giving your customer a really experiential experience. So if you've got a product, it can be a service, it can be a physical product, it can be a digital product, anything like that. It can be B2B, it can be B2C, it can be sold online. And the beauty of it is that you have data, you have analytics that you can hone right down. You can see exactly who your customer is, exactly how many touch points you have with them, how to remarket to them. All of these things are possible in e-commerce, which are not possible in the old way of doing business, the old way of selling. So I'm a proponent for e-commerce, and as Claire mentioned, I helped to start up the Institute, a new Institute of Ecommerce for Scotland. And we're just a like-minded community of people helping each other out, because that was the one thing that was missing in Scotland that I finally realised after I kept trying to find the person who would tell me how to run my business was, I know how to run my business. I just have to learn this stuff and try and do it properly. And we, as I say, we make lots of mistakes, but the business has grown exponentially over the last 3 or 4 years. And we have the Lily Blanche website alone is doing incredibly well. It's up 45% this year in terms of sales. So if I know I'm running out of time, but if I were doing it from scratch now, how would I do it? Well, I would keep it simple. You know, I would go for a really simple platform. If I had a really great product, I would test it on Amazon or eBay. People are a bit snippy about Amazon and eBay. They see it as being a kind of, you know, is it going to damage my brand? It's a massive marketplace, you know. Amazon sales are up 40% in COVID. People shop on Amazon. Test it on Amazon. If you can set it up on Amazon, I mean, it's a nightmare platform to sell on, but if you can get it on Amazon and you can sell it on Amazon, you can sell it anywhere. So you don't need any capital to do that. Just get it up on Amazon, get your bestsellers up, see how it's working, work out how to do your listings. Amazon has a university, Amazon University. Put yourself through it. You know, there's so many free resources out there. If you can sell on Amazon, you can sell anywhere. If you want your own website, I would go for something really simple. BigCommerce or Shopify, very, very great platforms now, well optimized for selling. Get the lowest package you can and just get out there and try it. Start it up. There's a huge amount of free help online, fantastic resources. And if you're thinking about, well, maybe I'll wait till next year, do it now. Christmas is going to be massive this year. We got our first Christmas message in August on a goods. We're already putting things out. I mean, the way that people are looking forward to Christmas this year because they have got nothing else to look forward to. They're back in their homes. They're online. YouTube viewing is up 30% during lockdown. People are on their computers. And what do they do when they're on their computers? They look for things to buy. They think about things. The experience of shopping on the high street is not pleasant anymore. So if you can give your customer a really good service, you can talk to them through Facebook groups, through setting up experiential kind of social media things, you can do really well. So I think that's probably my time up. I could go on about this today, but I going to hear other really brilliant speakers. So I will put some resources in the chat and things that I find really helpful. But, you know, the thing is, you can do this. You can do it part-time. You can do it while you're still in work. You can do it in the evenings. It's really super flexible. It's very, very female friendly. And I would just say dive in, you know, find other people who are doing it, find mentors, find people who can help you, and just go for it. You'll be amazed.
Well, I'm amazed, Gillian. That was fantastic. What a rallying call that was. It just sounds like this is the absolute moment when there's disaster negativity to jump right in there. Maybe some people watching just now will be thinking there must be a downside to this. Maybe somebody's going to ask you that question, but we'll have to move on for now. Gillian, thank you so much. Remember to jot down questions, observations as you go. Keep that chat box busy. It's looking very busy at the moment. That's great. We're delighted you're sharing. Post on social media. Remember, #Women's Business Centre to talk about this webinar, what you're learning, how useful it is. We're delighted if you share stuff. Right, on to Barbara McCrory next of Transform Consulting. Over to you, Barbara.
Thank you very much. I'm just trying to figure out how do I follow Gillian. Well done, Gillian. That was quite incredible. That's going to be a tough one. And thank you, Claire. Doesn't your career sound an awful lot better when somebody else is reading it out for you? When you go through it, it doesn't seem like that at all. So thank you very much. Today I'm going to talk to you business to business and looking at it from the professional buyer, right? So not online, not as much online, although the message tends to be similar at times when it's online. So I'm going to look at this from if you're going to meet a professional buyer, mainly because I am actually an ex-professional buyer. I was an ex-Tesco buyer and commercial director. I had 6 buyers working for me, all with very different personalities, all with very different ways of thinking about business. And when I left Tesco, I started training and wrote something called Inside the Mind of the Buyer. So it's how to look at things from a buyer's point of view. So hopefully you find something interesting, some of it will help. Unfortunately, what has happened in the last couple of years is how you approach buyers nowadays is quite different. How you present to buyers is quite different. And that is mainly because buyers know more about you when you get to them than ever before. So what we have been seeing, and I have sat through thousands, hundreds of thousands of presentations from companies, an hour long, tends to be an hour long, telling me about their business, telling me everything that's on the website that I've already read before you even get to talk to me. So what has happened recently is buyers know about you, so they don't want to know that anymore. So if it's on your website, your best thing to do is to ask the buyer, do you want to go through it, rather than trawling through what they already know and wasting your time actually and their time, because they're very busy people. Now, if you get to see a buyer, remember you're there for a reason, because buyers won't give you the time because they don't have the time. And I love Gillian's comment about, you know, there's lots of crap out there. There is. Okay, so if you're sitting in front of a buyer, please remember you're there for a reason. They're interested in what you have to say. Otherwise, they wouldn't be bothered talking to you. So use the time sensibly. But I always say to people who are talking to me, stop thinking about yourself, right? You're not there to talk about yourself anymore. It's all about them, unfortunately, right? Me, me, me. Think about inside the mind of the buyer. You're sitting in front of the buyer. What does he or she want to hear from you? Me, me, me. All about me, okay? So why are you there? If you have a Me Too product, you've got a tough sale ahead of yourself because it's similar to something else they already have. Why are you there? Why are they going to give you the time? Why are they going to, I mean, it could be a retail product, or it could be an ingredient, it could be something else. Why will they buy it from you as opposed to from one of your competition? So the first thing you need to find out from a buyer is, why are you there? Why have they decided to meet you? And that's a tough one. So you can do that by researching, you know what's going on in their business, what the latest needs are. Are you a good trend? Are you something new? What I would suggest you do is that you trawl the internet about the buyer. So you'll get lots of information on LinkedIn, if Facebook, and also the company's website. So there could be a number of reasons why you're there. It could be something to do with they need a product that you're making that will fulfill some criteria about the environment. It could be about they need to make more money. So they have a product that is similar to yours, but yours actually will make them more money. So it could be about profit. So remember, every buyer has a set of criteria as well. They have KPIs, they have key performance indicators too. So they have to fulfill them. So there's a reason. So they have targets to hit, and they need you to help them hit those targets. But also remember, you have two messages. In some cases, you have three messages. But imagine you're selling directly to the buyer. You have two messages. One to the buyer as to why that buyer should buy from you. But also the buyer will want to know, well, why will the end user, the consumer, want to buy your product as well? Because they have to shift it from wherever they're going to sell it into the consumer. So you have two very clear messages to talk to the buyer about, and they will want to know what those messages are. So what I would suggest to you is, one, check your LinkedIn profiles. I'm assuming they're all super duper very professional. Check your Facebook. Check anybody in your business that's sitting in front of a buyer's Facebook profile. I ask this lots and lots of times. Are you happy for me to have a look at your Facebook profile? I would say professional people, probably about 70% of them will say yes, but there are a few out there who would not be happy for me to have a look at their Facebook profile. So if you're coming to meet me, I'll probably check you out on LinkedIn, then I might have a look at Facebook, and then I definitely have a look at your website. And your message has got to be the same. Don't be giving me conflicting messages, otherwise it gets confusing for me if you're coming to meet me. So think about your message, think about what need you're going to fulfill. So those needs could be, it's just a new product. It's a different product. You want to, don't say to a buyer, I want to sell to you because you're the biggest in the country. That's a real no, okay? I want to sell to you, not because I have a brilliant product, not that I'm going to make you any money, it's because you're the biggest and I'm going to sell lots, okay? So think about that. Are you in trend? Are you going to make him lots of money? That'll be number one. Am I going to make him lots of money? Number one. It's always number one in his head. So why would they buy for you? You need to have that very clear story. And I think I think somebody spoke the other day about your 60-second pitch and your 30-second pitch. If you don't know what they are, then you're going to be asked tough questions in front of a buyer and you're not going to be able to answer them. So you need to do those pitches. You need to understand why it is you're there, what it is you're doing, what the benefit is, what's your uniqueness. And that doesn't matter whether it's a product or a service. And it could be something to do with local. What's happening at the moment now is because of Brexit and because of the environmental issues, local is a big issue because I'm not going to have to fly it across. I'm not going to have to get it on boats. If I can get it locally, it's become a big issue for me. So it's easier for me to buy. You can drive it around the country. I don't have to cross borders. I don't have to do documentation, all of this sort of stuff. So think about things that are happening at the moment. Brexit, big issues for everybody. Everybody here, big issues for them. So think about that. It could be customer service. He could be let down or she could be let down by a current supplier, so they can't get product. But also you have to look at the volume of product that you're going to be asked for. So people go to sit in front of buyers and think, I'm going to be multimillionaire here. And the buyer says, can you make for 65 million people, which are the population of the UK? No tends to be the answer. So you can ask the buyer to do things for you, like trialing a product in a certain area, maybe trial it in Scotland, trial it in Wales, exactly as Gillian said, try it somewhere, see what happens. You can ask a buyer to do that. They do have the space to do that normally. So that would be a good thing to do. So I'm running out of time as well. I would say to you, be a Girl Scout, put the big girl pants on and go for it. Be prepared, okay? Be very prepared. Be prepared for questions. He's going to ask you lots of questions. Objection handling objections. I'm always surprised when people don't like objections because they know what they're going to be. If you think about what you're selling with the view of a buyer, so put yourself into the mind of the buyer. I'm going to meet myself. What questions will I ask you? So objections come up over and over again. And people say, oh, you have to answer this objection all the time. And I go, well, why don't you put that into your pitch? So you don't have to answer it. And you don't have to worry about answering it. So make your presentation be up to date, relevant, and answering the questions that you think are going to come up. Now, every time you come to a meeting, the first objection is always going to be your price is too high. Am I right? You can all nod. Price is too high, always the first objection. And you have to know that before you're going in. You already know that. You know that's going to be your objection. I would hope that your price is slightly too high because there's always going to be an expectation that you bring it back. You need to know a couple of things. One, what's your walkaway point? I have met over and over again the amount of people who don't know at what point in time they have to stop selling. They have to stop dropping the price. So you need to know your walkaway point because they'll push and push and push. But if a buyer says to you, your price is too high, and you've done all your research and all your background checks, and you're able to justify the benefits of your product and your uniqueness over anything else that they've seen, you can justifiably say to the buyer, but what are you comparing that with? Because the comparisons tend not to be the same. Ask the buyer, because he will just, or she will just say it automatically, your price is too high. So be prepared, have lots and lots and lots of questions, and be able to answer objections. Role play. I say that to every role play. Test what you're saying with somebody in your office, with your partners, with whatever, the dog. It doesn't matter. Role play so that you are comfortable saying what you're saying. Role play answers to your objections, and be prepared for the questions that are coming. And finally, I'm just going to finish up on ask sensible questions. Okay, again, I'll put a link up as well, but I would suggest you have a look at, if you want to ask questions, and you need to ask questions, to think about spin selling. Neil Rackham, biggest sales book in the world, actually, on spin selling. And he talks about asking questions, but sensible questions. Don't ask me as a buyer, how many employees have you got? How many outlets have you got? Things that are already on the website. You need to be asking sensible questions. So I'll put that link up and you can have a look at spin selling. And then finally, to close, I'll talk about closing. I have sat through many, many presentations where the person has presented their company and the product and then said, thank you very much for the meeting, and walked away. Don't walk out of that office. Please do not walk out of that office without some form of a next step. That next step could be inviting them to your factory to see what's going on. It could be to trial your products, get some feedback, do some testing. Please ask them for something before you leave. Close and let them know why you're there. And that'll be my closing.
I have got to close it, and that is a brilliant point to end on. You do not leave that office until you've got a next step. Absolutely. Something. Oh, Barbara, that was absolutely fascinating. We've got to whiz on now. Suzanne Williamson, JC Deco. Suzanne, take it away.
Hello. So it's been quite an amazing couple of days for me, because in part of my job I look after sort of advertising in the city centre. So I was in the centre of Edinburgh, and then I look advertising at the airport. So I went to the airport yesterday, and I was really tempted to get on a flight if I could, because what was interesting to me was the kind of feeling of safety and security that's been marketed by the airport as part of their Fly Safe campaign, and it's been done really well. And sort of thinking about marketing, often I think people get a bit confused by jargon. They think it needs to cost a lot of money, and in which case they're kind of slightly put off. But unwittingly, we market ourselves every day of our life. When we leave our house, we're always marketing ourselves with what we wear, what car we drive, you know, our children. We're all just part of the big marketing bubble. And it's important just to kind of break it down into something really simple. Whether you're a new start or an established business, whether you're selling to businesses or consumer, there's slight differences between the two, but fundamentally, as Barbara was talking to, you're selling to people, and knowing what they want is kind of core, and that's what marketing is. So marketing simply is going to get the word out about you and your business. And if you're really successful about it, as Gillian and Barbara were discussing, it will also allow you to connect with your customers, leading to boosting your sales, building hopefully a robust and loyal client base, and even more impressive probably is leaving a bit of a mark in the world or your local community. So it's got benefits for everyone. To start at the beginning though, when I was thinking about what I was going to say to you today, I think it's really important that you start with yourself. Marketing yourself is really key. You are your business. You are your business's biggest asset. You know your product, you've dreamt your product, you've dreamt it in your head for years before you've vocalized it to your friends and family. And then for the startups amongst us today that are taking it a bit further and starting to promote it externally, is a bit of a big leap. And for those that are in business, there's nothing like a bit of perfecting and refining and spending a little bit of time. So it's really important that you see yourself and your reputation as a marketing tool. It's really key. Often I think, and culturally, we're not encouraged as children necessarily, or perhaps in the past, to speak up. There's lots of old adages. Pride goes before a fall. You don't want to appear boastful. You don't want to appear arrogant. You're quite, I'll just wait and see what everyone else is saying before I say anything. Actually, and you know, maybe as women, we're always a wee bit more introspective about what people think about what I'm saying. I would say to you that you've come a long way in running your business or starting your business, and you need to just go a little bit further. And it's abandoning that and just putting it out there. Because intelligent marketing will drive traffic. It will lead to customers. It will lead to orders. And let's face it, we all want to earn money. So it will lead to money as well. There's lots of different phases. Fake it till you make it, or Richard Branson saying, you know, if you don't know how to do something, just say yes and learn it. And that's true. And if you look back at what you've learned so far, there's been many instances where you've maybe worked overnight, long hours to get to where you need to be, so that the next day you're able to go out and, as Barbara says, pull together a pitch to clients. But what you really need to do, which Barbara touched on explicitly, was you need an elevator pitch. You have 10 seconds in which to get someone's attention. And then you have between 30 to 60 seconds to sell to them. That's your window. And the only way that you can do that is to practice and practice your script. And I would say to you, there's loads of elevator pitches, some good and bad from America on YouTube. Go and have a look. It's not necessarily about the features of your product, but it's about the benefits and the old USP. What is it that makes your business unique? Is it because you're buying local from local products, from local suppliers? Is it because actually the staff you employ are all, you know, from school leavers, or actually, you know, at the other end of the spectrum where you're kind of, you're getting kind of the seniors population back? But what is it about it? Or is it just that actually your product genuinely is unique in the market, or you've sourced from ethical suppliers, but you need to get that in. It's so, so important. When you've got something off pat at 30 to 60 seconds, so that you can say it in your sleep at the drop of a hat, it's like knowing your name. And I don't know if you noticed, but Gillian and Barbara spoke today. Gillian especially, the first thing she talked about was her business. So it's the first thing you're saying, hello, my name, my business. You know, it's as simple as that. It will become instinctive. You will not have to think. And once you get to that sort of level of confidence, I'd say to you, at that point, you can then potentially look to tailor it. And understanding your audience in marketing is key. Barbara specifically said earlier, which was really interesting, about you need to know and prepare for your meetings. There's no point in bringing your product along if your demographic is, you know, between the ages of 20 to 30, but you're treating them as if they're part of the retirement, you know, population in terms of the way that you're describing your product or what's in it. So preparation is really key, because it will allow you specifically to hone it down and to make an impact. And how many times in our life, and we don't even realize it, because successful selling isn't selling, you're just talking to someone about your product, that you've heard something, you've remembered it, and even years later, you've all gone back and said, oh, I remember that, and I'll go and buy it now. In outdoor advertising, which is, you know, on bus shelters or billboards, you pass it, you see the message, you see the message, you see the message, you go into store, or you see the message, you go online. That's the beauty of digital. It's just so easy, click, click, and done. Nervousness obviously is something that we all kind of have to overcome. You know, the number of times I've had to do webinars recently has grown, but prior to that, not many. So it's always a bit nerve-wracking. And I'd say to you, look, you will have testimonials if you've been in business, or if you started up, you will have had good comments from business advisors, from people in the West team. I would really encourage you to write them down and go when you're nervous to look at them again and remind yourself how good you are. You are always better than you know.
Okay, Suzanne, I'm probably going to have to draw you to a close very quickly because we need to squeeze in one.
Okay, I'm just going to move very quickly on. So very quickly, marketing can be cheap. Leverage your community. So that's really key. You don't need to go and buy lists. You know what's happening in your area, leverage it. Try and get to a consumer group that's like non-competing businesses and see whether you can do something as a collective. That's key. Your network, we talk about it all the time intensive, really labor intensive, but see when you've got a great network, it will stand you in good stead. Remember the power of retained customers. It's far cheaper to work with retained customers than new. And spread the word about your business and be vocal. Get on these webinars, set them up. Do try before you buy type sessions. Offer people the chance to come along and ask people for their business. Don't be frightened. The last thing I would say to you would be try and engage with local newspapers and be newsworthy and have topical stories. That costs nothing. So you don't need a big marketing budget to be successful. It's all about who you know your locality, know your products, and know who you're dealing with. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic advice. I'm so sorry to rush you, Suzanne.
Okay.
So much there, but you know, the elevator pitch, absolutely crucial. Thank you so much. We're whizzing on to the final panelist, Jeanette Forbes, CEO of Blue Gentoo, amongst many other things. Jeanette, go for it. Oh, I think you're on mute, Jeanette. Jeanette?
Yeah, hi there. Good morning. How are you?
We got you.
Yeah, we're all good. It was just really to say well done to the ladies who've gone before me, and they had some solid messaging in there. I want to just say that if your brand is strong, then you won't have any difficulty in trying to sell the product, because that will carry it. And I've noticed that throughout my 20 years in business. It's all about having a really strong brand. But I want to share with you a couple of points. And one of the big points is that there's nobody better in your business to sell it than you. I've been in business 20 years and I've never had a sales team. And we sell everything, okay? And I feel that if you've got the right people around you, they will sell that business for you and your products. And that's really where you want to get that balance. So I've been tending to go in and sell for PCL Group and for Blue Gentoo for years on my own. And obviously with the bar, that was Grape and Grain was a completely different way of doing it. Because social media plays such a big part in that. But I want to go back to where we started. Okay, I have clients that have been with me for 20 years, and every year I go to see them and say, would you like to go out for tender? And they say, no, because I've got no issue with what you're delivering. So until that happens, why should I want to go out to tender? That's really gratifying to know that you have actually delivered a standard of service, a quality of product that people want from you, and they're not prepared to move. Try and get that. That is absolutely gold dust if you can get that. But I want to share with you one of my very first experiences of selling. And as I say, I'm no salesman, I'm a systems engineer. Our turnover within my business had stayed relatively level for about 3 years. And I felt that now was the time that we needed to grow the business. We were satisfied, we had a good rock solid foundation we could start to build that business upon. So this particular morning I went in, dressed up and said to myself, I'm going to go out and sell today. And I decided to go to the area where my business was established and try on the other side to get people to start and buy our system solutions like computers, etc. from us. And the very first person I went into, I walked into this what looked like a workshop area, and I said to this chap who was sat behind the counter, good afternoon, I'm here to introduce my company to you. My company is called PCL Group. We're a relatively small local business that's based here on the industrial estate, and I would like to know if you have any requirements for IT services, and if you do, would you like me to leave you my business card and you can be in touch? I thought I delivered not such a bad pitch. When he stood up and said, well, I'm the managing director of this business and you just take your bony little ass out of here, I just about collapsed, because that was not what I expected him to tell me. So always be prepared for something that you might get that you've not looked to see, okay? Because that was something that really concerned me. I sat in my car and said to myself, I'm no good at selling. I can't do this. This is too big for me. I went back to the office, had a cup of coffee and said to myself, I'm not going to be beaten. I'm going to do this and I'm going to sell that guy a system at some point. Now, I never went back to that company because of the reception that I received. But some months later, I got a telephone call in my office. Guess from who? Guess what? He had an IT problem. Guess what? He needed some assistance, and we provided that assistance. And guess what? His invoice reflected how he spoke to me that day. So I've never forgotten that. And you need to remember that too, okay? There's always another way to skin a cat. But my view on it is if you can sell, get out there and do it. It's not a great position. If you've no confidence, it's really not a great position to be in, because, you'll think to yourself, I can't do it. But, I had to take myself out of my comfort zone and go and sell for my business in order to grow the turnover, grow the business, employ more people, and develop the way that we wanted to develop. My strategy was key to that. So get on those big knickers, as we've already said, and get up and do it, because that's what needs to happen, okay? And as I said, probably one of the most significant comments I ever heard from somebody who had been in business for a long time, once said to me, you need to get really close to your customers and your clients, Jeanette. And I thought, how am I going to do that? This is a male-dominated sector that I work in. I can't get too close to these people. I have a definitive line where I cannot step over. And I always remember him saying, get as close to your customers so you're actually in their pajamas. Some of my customers, I really wouldn't want to be in their pajamas, if I'm being honest. But on saying that, he was absolutely right, because if you are close to your customers, nobody else can come between you. So they don't go anywhere else. They stick with you. You have got to be so close to them that you cannot let anybody get between you and that customer. And that's the messages that I really want to leave with you today, is be confident, go out there and do it. You're going to get some knocks. You're going to have some real challenges, but it's overcome them. And as I said, you know, just that confidence comes because as you start to work through speaking to people and all the rest, your messaging becomes far more succinct. You become far more confident. You'll go into that meeting with gusto and say, you know what, I'm going to leave with this sale because that is my target. And you go ahead and do it, ladies, because you can.
Wow, a rallying call. Absolutely fantastic stuff there. And just to pick up on what you were saying there, Jeanette, that whole thing of absolutely sticking to your customer, very challenging when there's a gender thing in there as well. And also there's the boys network, there's the, you know, the stuff about going for golf and going to rugby matches. Did you have to buy into that? How did you do it then? How did you get into their pajamas figuratively?
Yeah, I just stayed close to them. You know, I did the added value bit. What can I learn? What do I know? I took a different approach where I would learn about, did they have family? What were their wives' interests? You know, this kind of thing. So I could open the conversation far easier than me having to say, I don't play golf. Okay, so that was never going to happen. And of course, there is this stigma that if you start getting really close to your client base and they're male, you know, you're asking for some problems sometimes from perhaps a jealous wife that comes along and says, what the hell's going on between you and my husband? And at the end of the day, you're just trying to sell. There's nothing else. So you've got to there is definitely a definitive line. So be careful and conscious of that. But as I said, if you get so close to them that they don't have any wriggle room to go anywhere else, you're not going to lose them.
Absolutely fascinating stuff. Great inspirational stories and advice from all four of you. I am seeing a lot of comments, not a lot of questions, but a heck of a lot of comments, which is lovely actually, because people are really listening and leaning in and they're getting what you're saying. There are certainly questions to ask you guys, but just say to people, if you do feel like asking a specific question, there's one from Anne Brooks. She's saying, Dr. Barbara, how can you get insights into your retailer category before you meet your buyer? I don't know if you want to mention that, Barbara. I think you did kind of hint you should be doing your homework.
Sorry, just need to unmute there. Yeah, you absolutely have to do your homework. Most of the research that you need will come from trends, because the buyers look at trends, look at research, look at what's happening in the marketplace. And if you want to know about their corporate social responsibility, which they're all looking at now because of all the environmental issues and the younger generations being more into that sort of stuff, if you look at the websites usually give you that sort of information. So they could be challenged with making sure that 50% of their products on shelf could be environmentally friendly, or something like that. So you have to do your research. You have to know what they're looking for, or simply ask them. When you get there, you've got to be brave enough to ask the questions. You might not like the answers, but you have to ask the questions. You might find that your product will not match what they're looking for.
Yeah, we're going to have a little bit more time than we thought, because this is fascinating, and four of you have really given us a big brain dump about what we should and shouldn't be doing. So I hope you don't mind hanging in for another 5 or 10 minutes so we can get around some points as well. But let me just give you some feedback from what we're getting here online. Janice Cunningham saying, like having a pitch is critical. There's a great pitch session and tool as part of the Royal Bank Business Builder, and there's a link from that. Everyone is getting very enthused. People saying, have to take themselves out of the comfort zone to sell and achieve my goals. That's great advice. Let me take this one back to Gillian to start with, the e-commerce supremo. Somebody saying they're worried about starting up a business in this downturn. You said it's an opportunity because, you know, this is a bad time, but you know what? People get inventive and creative, and they see the gaps in the market in downtime. But that's quite a big ask for somebody starting from scratch and not really understanding what the business world is. Is it a good idea or a bad idea? Or is she better to wait until things settle and get better? I've got a funny feeling I know what you're going to say. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the perfect time. It absolutely is. And the thing about COVID and the thing that's happening to us all just now is it's kind of separating the sheep from the goats. Now, not entirely. There's lots of absolutely brilliant businesses who are, you know, really suffering, and they've got everything perfect and it's totally out of their control. But, you know, at a time like this, you have to really look at your product and what you're selling. And I know so many businesses who have pivoted. You know, the product they've got is fine for, you know, when the world is normal, but they've really thought hard about what they can offer, their added value, their customers. Now, I mean, I know a handbag brand, okay, selling £500 handbags. Nobody needs a £500 handbag in lockdown. You are not going anywhere. You're not going to take a handbag. As soon as lockdown started, she pivoted. The first thing she did was she set up a Facebook group, and she made it all about joy and about handbags. And the next thing she did was she started doing a lot more video edits. She started doing special edits of her product, putting them online, exclusive. They were limited edition. And then she also used a celebrity influencer. And these three things have turbocharged her business. She has gone from having a business that looked like it was going to just die in COVID to a business that is, you know, massively, massively up. And she's speaking directly to her customers through social media. So even if you've got a product that you think is not necessary in this market, it's expensive, it's luxury, it's for people in the workplace. I mean, her tagline was a bag in every boardroom. Nobody's in the bloody boardroom, you know. But these women are now selling each other the bags. They're taking photos of the bags, they're putting it on social media, and that business has rocketed. So there's lots of ways of, if you have a business already, of pivoting. Think really hard about your product. Think, what can I do better? Use this time and think about how you can engage. You know, there's lots of opportunities online, but not for everyone. So some kind of categories are doing much better than others. Beauty is not doing as well as fashion, as well as some kinds of fashion. So leisure wear is doing really well, but because the pharmacies are still open and because some of the beauty products are bought through pharmacies, they're not having such a good time. So, you know, I've put a link into Google Trends. Barbara mentioned Trends. Google Trends, you can find out what people are searching for. Now, you go into Google Trends and you look at the trend for contactless delivery. That went nuts in March, you know, so use that as a keyword. Look at Google Trends. It's not just about the product, it's about how people want to buy. What are they looking for? What are they searching for? How are they searching? You know, they want to stay safe. They want to be able to do it in convenience and comfort, and add to that, make it experiential for them. You know, a Facebook group is a very experiential thing. The handbag lady with her £500 handbags started up, she sold TikTok.
Oh, you dropped.
She brought it.
Sorry, you dropped.
There.
I get.
Sorry,
what I think
you've got the point. I'll shut up now. But yeah,
I'm loving it. No, you're buzzing with energy, and these are fantastic tips. This is great because it's business to consumer, and you can use social media to do that. But Suzanne, you know, not everybody can do that. So, what would you advise if this person's saying, "Is it a bad idea to even try to start up a business in this downturn?" And we've got Brexit as well, by the way.
I mean, I would echo the words of Gillian, which is there isn't a bad time to kind of start up your business if you've done your research and sort of knowing your product. And at the end of the day, business to business or business to consumer, I mean, the lead times, I think probably business to business the lead times can be a little bit longer for making a decision. As Jeanette said, a number of business clients may want to go out kind of with the tender to make sure that they've got a good deal. But then, as Jeanette's proved to you, that if you have that customer relationship, then businesses don't feel the need to go to tender because they know you're going to deliver the right product. There's a reliability of it all. And at the moment, I suppose, with so much uncertainty elsewhere, actually sort of dealing with people that they know and trust and that can deliver says a lot. And the one thing that I probably would say is, we were talking about this yesterday actually, is there is a lot of uncertainty at the moment for everyone, and that's across every business. So it could have been before COVID where you'd have been starting up thinking, I'm the only one that's uncertain. Now everyone's uncertain about certain things. So actually there's this kind of collective feeling about, you know, nobody has the right answers. And what came out of today was, I mean, honestly, people are so desperate to help. I mean, sort of Jeanette and Gillian and Barbara talking today about starting their business, helping you avoid the pitfalls, particularly Jeanette, about what they encountered. You know, you're always going to get the one that's, well, I can say an awful lot of things about that, but you're always going to get one that's not going to help you. But it's don't dwell on it, move on and help us out there. And I would just say, look, there's with things like this, there are always opportunities. And I think there is never a better time to start up in business, because the world is changing. And as Gillian said, we may never go back to, you know, what was a traditional high street. It might be much more online or local. And there's a comfort of that.
Right.
There's definitely a comfort.
Let me throw that to Jeanette. Do you feel the same? There's never been a better time. I'm panicking just thinking about what Rishi Sunak's going to say very shortly. Are you not panicking?
No, definitely not. I can honestly tell you, I started 2 businesses in an oil and gas downturn, and they're very successful. And it was just a case, there's never going to be a right time. So let's go back to PCL Group. I'd been made redundant from oil and gas. I was down to my last £100 in the bank. I had no more money. I had to think about how I was going to pay the mortgage, put the food on the table for my 2 young children, because I was a main breadwinner. And I decided to just take the bull by the horns and go and do it, because I realized that I would be putting it off forever. You know, I was 40 years old when I started my business, and I decided that that was enough. I was going to give it a shot. And my biggest mantra was, I'm going to give this a try. And, you know, if I fail, I can always say that I gave it my best shot, because that's exactly what I did. And I've never looked back. Never looked back.
What kept you going? What kept you believing? Because especially in these very trying times, and I said, also mentioning Brexit's on the horizon, God knows what that's going to do to business.
What kept me going was the fact that I knew I could do it. I had inner belief that said to me, you can do this. You just have to know you're going to get some hard knocks, and you're going to do it wrong at some time, but you know, it's what you learn from doing it wrong at those times. That's the most important part to take away from that. You learn so much about that and how not to do it that way again, that you will never make those mistakes again. Never.
Let me throw that one to you, Barbara. What do you think? Is there ever a better time than to start?
Yeah. No, I think you just start your business. I think it is an ideal time to start business. You have to remember that retailers, the high street retailers, also need new things. They also need new ideas, new products, and they're constantly looking for newness. And so yeah, go for it. Don't stop and wait. And also back to Suzanne's point, I mean, retail business is seasonal. So at the moment, the retailers are looking at Easter. They've gone beyond Christmas. You can see Christmas in the stores now. So don't stop. Don't ever stop. It can take you 2 years to get a listing in a big retailer. So you got to start at some point in time. By the time 2 years comes around, your product might look slightly different, but you'll have a lot more experience. You're able to talk to them more confidently, but you've got to start.
Can I ask you panelists, you're all fantastic, and we're getting some beautiful comments in best webinar yet from Rebecca. Thank you all for your time and expertise. So inspiring. Fab webinar, best yet. Any tips on, here's one. Any tips on learning about how to promote your e-commerce business on social media without having to pay for a digital agency? Gillian, I guess that's for you.
Yeah, you can do a lot of this for free. You do not need money to start an e-commerce business. It's not about capital. It's about access to knowledge. That's the barrier to entry. So, it's about telling stories around your brand. Have a real clear concept of what your brand is, and be able to, you're, as a small business, we're all really flexible. Be able to put yourself out there. I mean, the way we do social media is I do all the Facebook stuff because it was Facebook that grew my business. I wasn't even on Facebook before I started advertising on Facebook and having a business on Facebook. And I don't do anything privately on Facebook. It's all about my business. You have to have a personal Facebook page to have a business page, but you probably know that already. But we now have lots of customers who, I mean, one of the things I've instituted for my business is nothing to do with my product, but I have a Friday night shout out. So when the studio shuts on Friday night, and I go in, I have my first drink of the week, my husband pours me a cocktail or something delicious, a glass of champagne or a gin. I take a photograph of what I'm drinking. It's on my mantelpiece. There's my orchids. There's all my other bits and pieces in the house. I move it around to different places sometimes. And I say to my customers, yay, you know, it's the weekend. The weekend starts now. I hope you're having some fun, some time with family or friends. You've got something delicious to eat or drink. It's the same message, you know, like, this is the way our week has gone. This has been good for us. If it's been a terrible week, I say, you know, I'm really glad to get to the end of this week. And we get the most engagement for that post every week. And I do it at the same time, or Friday night, depends what time the thing shuts. You know, you don't have to just, you know, connect with your people, you know, connect with your people.
Everything, be in their pajamas.
Be in their pajamas. I mean, they're often in their pajamas. I'm in my pajamas. You know, we speak to people, we give them lots of touch points. So we have WeChat, we have our WhatsApp number, which is my private mobile number. It's on the website. They can phone us, they can email us, they can contact us on Facebook Messenger, and they do contact us. We've got about 10 different ways of customers to contact us. We don't see customer service as a cost. We see it as a benefit. Every time we have a touch point with our customer, we are selling. We are doing really a lot of sales. And because a lot of our stuff is personal services, they're sending in locket photos, they're sending in engraved messages. You know, it's a very personal thing.
It's a relationship. I want to jump on. I mean, there's so many questions here. Before I even slung that question to you there, Gillian, it occurred to me that some people are asking for mentors from you guys. I don't know if you want to follow that up a bit later, but how important is it to have a forum like this where you can all tell your stories and people are out there listening to this in live time, looking at it? We'll be able to look at it YouTube later on when we get that posted up. But how important is it for women to hear these stories of not just survival but thrival? That's a new word. Let me throw that to you, Barbara.
Yeah, I run workshops across industries, and when I say across industries, there could be mixed industries in the workshops. And every time at the end of the workshop, one of the key pieces of feedback is the networking. It's picking up ideas from other people, understanding that they're not the only people who have issues, getting, you know, other people's experience and how to deal with things. So I think networking is probably very, very beneficial to everything that you're trying to do. And I think Suzanne mentioned it earlier on about networking, you know, in your business. I think it's vital.
Yeah, Suzanne. Oh, you're mute. I think you're mute. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's really important, I think, because you may think that you only know 20 people, but your 20 instantly through networking can become 100. And someone will be somewhere close to you, 2 or 3 steps removed, there'll be someone that can help you, definitely, 100%. And to go back to what Gillian was saying, social media, 97% of all adults access one social media channel, at least one. And being relevant and updating your posts and being innovative is really a cheap way on Facebook and using sort of LinkedIn. LinkedIn now used to just be business, but now how many times have you used LinkedIn? You can see some personal stuff on there as well. It's a cheap way to get your messages out there. And who doesn't like to hear sort of nice messages in this? It's just, you feel much more engaged with the brand when you can see something nice about someone. You go, oh, I really like that. That's like me. You know, we want to buy from people. We want to be the same. And when it becomes like that, it's a very instinctive purchase. And going back to what Barbara said about the buying cycle and Easter and Christmas, I mean, honestly, people are looking at feel-good things. You know, drinks manufacture. We're in my industry and outdoor, we're seeing a lot on drinks and sort of promotions and food promotions, etc. So, you know, people want to feel good because they've not been able to get away. They've not been able to spend their money the way they have. So they'll spend more on other things.
I love the idea. I can't remember who said it. Maybe it was you, Barbara, about sort of really getting real, or maybe it's somebody else, about knowing what the objection points, maybe it was you, Suzanne, but knowing the objection points and not taking it personally, because that seems to me like a really big thing for women, that if there's anything slightly askew, it can throw people right off piste and they decide, well, I can't do it. That's all wrong. Everything's going to start to fall like a house of cards when somebody raises an objection. Jeanette, you know how to hang in there tough. Again, it's very difficult for somebody that's not had decades of experience and knows they've got the facility to bounce back and overcome these things and address the problems that might be there with their product or service. So what do you say to people that maybe have got a fear of being told something's not quite right? Why shouldn't they fear knowing what the weak points are?
Yeah, they should fear that, but that makes you even more focused to make sure that actually it is right, you know, that the product goes out there and it is in the right packaging, or it is in the way that it should be. My view's always been that, you know, you learn by this, and that's the real big message here. Don't be discouraged by it. Take it as a learning point and say, what did I really learn here? What did I really get from that? It didn't go as well as what we did. You know, Grip and Green, for instance, we post on our Facebook page all the time. I mean, we've been closed since the 20th of March, so that's 6 months since COVID started. We haven't opened that bar, and there's not been a penny going over that till. That shows resilience, because you've got to make these decisions sometimes. In my view, it was far more practical to look after and more to look after my staff, to make sure that they were safe from COVID. It was important to make sure that my customers were safe. It was really important to make sure that my community was safe. So that was the reason why we've remained closed. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't still post. We haven't posted because we know that as soon as we do, the bar will be packed out again. And that's the worry that we've got. So it's knowing those right decisions. And Gillian, you were absolutely spot on. You know, the amount of times that we will say we're doing a gin tasting and it's going to be this gin. I don't do that because I want to sell stacks of alcohol in the bar, because that's irresponsible of me. But what I want people to do is to buy a ticket to come and watch and see the passion that's involved from these young businesses that are trying to get a foothold on the ladder to sell their products, which is exactly what you're trying to do, or the messaging you're trying to get out there. That is so important to me. So expect me, Gillian, on a Friday night for that cocktail, because I'll be around.
I'm hearing the passion from all of you, and I'm going to give you a sentence basically to pass on of your wisdom to share just before we close this session. So I'm going to start with Suzanne. Let's start with you.
Marketing doesn't have to be expensive. Start with yourself and be in social media.
Pretty good. Okay, Barbara.
There's quite a few, but I suppose the main one is know your product, know what you're good at, know your uniqueness and why you're there.
Okay, Gillian.
Get results. You put your focus. You could be lots of things. Put your focus.
Keep your focus. Keep your focus. And Jeanette, from you.
I would say just go do it. You'll never look back. I wish I was 20 years young again, you know, so that I could actually say, now I'm going to go and do it. I've always thought that I perhaps left it a little bit too late. Just go do it.
Oh, that is an endorsement. Absolutely. Listen, it's been absolutely amazing. The four of you have so much wisdom and so much humanity as well, that you've just taught us all how to take a risk and how to assess it, and also just enjoy it. You clearly, the four of you, love what you're doing. It's been wonderful to have you here for our fourth and final in this series set of webinars for the Women's Business Centre, the inaugural webinars. We hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much to all of you. WBS, to remind you, is the newest part of Women's Enterprise Scotland. The intention, as you know, is to jump into that digital space and help you to make informed decisions, hear inspired speakers, get the expertise you need. There's so much going on in that chat session as well, links and contacts and things that will help you, resources that will help you, so please do check that out as well. It seems to be we can all do it. The message is we can all do it, but the right guidance at the right time and the right preparation is absolutely key. We hope we've set you on the path and got your ambitions soaring. I've had a blast doing these webinars. It's been amazing. It's obviously down to wonderful guests like these people, but thank you so much to you. You've shared your time. Let us come into your houses, your studies, your offices. We love the feedback. We love the questions. Please don't think we're walking away. We're not. You can get advice on WBC Digital if you go to www.womensbusinesscentre.com. and you can take a look at the Startup Ready checklist. Social media as well. Follow us on Twitter at Women's Biz CTR, and on Facebook.com, just search for Women's Business Centre there. And don't forget Instagram at Women's Business Centre. All 4 webinars are going to be posted on YouTube in time, so you can review and relive the excitement of these sessions with these wonderful people. Meanwhile, do spread the word about the webinars and what we're doing in social media, hashtag Women's Business Centre. For now, from all of us at Women's Business Centre, think big, stay safe, and thanks so much for joining us on our Zoom safaris. I don't know what we're going to do on Thursdays from now on, but thank you very much for your presence.